Welcome back to our channel, World Coins History. As you knew that old is gold, but these rare Lincoln penny coins that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1. Today, we're diving into one of the most intriguing modern coins from the United States Mint, the 2009 Lincoln Penny, Birth and Early Childhood in Kentucky edition. This isn't just your average pocket change. What looks like a simple 1-cent coin can actually carry some serious value and history, especially if you know what to look for. So grab your magnifying glass, because this little copper treasure might just surprise you. In 2009, the U.S. Mint released 4 special Lincoln cents to honor the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Each design tells a chapter of his life, and the very first one, the Birth and Early Childhood Penny, takes us back to the humble beginnings of one of America's most legendary presidents. Born in a tiny log cabin in Kentucky in 1809, Lincoln's early years were filled with hardship, yet they laid the foundation for the leader he would become. And that story is captured right on this coin. On the reverse side of the penny, you'll see a detailed image of a log cabin, symbolizing Lincoln's early life in the rugged Kentucky frontier. It's not just a piece of currency, it's a tribute to American resilience and determination. The obverse features the familiar portrait of Lincoln, originally designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909, but with the 2009 date marking this bicentennial celebration. Now, here's where things get exciting for collectors. Not all of these 2009 pennies are created equal. Most were minted in Philadelphia and Denver for circulation, but some were struck in San Francisco as proofs, and even fewer were issued in special collector sets using a 95% copper composition, just like the original 1909 Lincoln cents. Most modern pennies are made of zinc with a thin copper coating, so these special copper versions are already more desirable, but what really gets coin collectors buzzing are the rare errors and variations. Some of the 2009 Lincoln Birth and Childhood pennies have been found with dramatic die errors, including doubling on the log cabin details, extra thickness in the lettering, and even off-center strikes. These error coins are not only rare, but each one is unique, which makes them even more valuable to the right buyer. Condition is another huge factor. If your 2009 Lincoln penny is still in brilliant uncirculated or mint state condition, no scratches, no wear, and full original luster, its value increases significantly. Coins graded MS 67 or higher are especially sought after by serious collectors, and prices can spike at auction depending on demand and rarity. So what's the real market value? A regular circulated 2009 Lincoln Birth and Childhood penny is usually worth just 1 cent. But a pristine copper version in mint condition can sell for several dollars. And if you happen to find one with a rare error or in top-graded condition, you're looking at auction values reaching hundreds of dollars. In fact, some have sold for over $300 to collectors who know just how rare these examples are. So before you toss that 2009 penny aside, take a closer look. It might be more than just change in your pocket, it could be a small piece of American history worth holding on to. Top 2, we're taking a close look at a coin that millions of people have held in their hands but few truly understand, the 1976 Lincoln penny, a small copper coin that could hold a big surprise. If you've got an old penny jar lying around, you'll definitely want to check it after this video. This isn't just about a 1-cent coin, it's about what makes certain 1976 Lincoln cents worth far more than face value. 1976 was a special year for the United States, it marked the nation's bicentennial. Although the penny itself didn't get a new design like the quarter, half dollar, and dollar did that year, it still has a story that's worth telling. At first glance, the 1976 Lincoln penny looks just like any other, a side profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, and the classic Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, both designed by Victor David Brenner and Frank Gasparo. But it's what you don't see right away that could make this penny worth collecting, and even cashing in. First, let's talk about the basics. The U.S. Mint produced hundreds of millions of these pennies in both Philadelphia, no mint mark, and Denver, with a D mint mark. Because of that massive mintage, most 1976 Lincoln cents aren't rare, unless you find one in exceptionally good condition or one with a rare error. That's when the game changes. Let's dive into the world of mint errors. the little quirks that can turn an ordinary coin into a collector's dream. Some 1976 pennies are known to have doubling on the date or the lettering. This is called a double die. Imagine seeing the word Liberty or the date 1976 with a shadow-like effect. That's not damage, it's a rare error from the minting process, and it can skyrocket a coin's value. Another error to look out for is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin isn't properly aligned during the minting process, leaving part of the design missing. A 1976 penny struck 10% to 50% off-center is both rare and visually striking, and collectors love coins that break the mold like this. Then there's the die cracks and cuds, imperfections on the die that leave raised lines or missing sections on the coin's surface. These might seem like flaws, but in the world of coin collecting, they're golden opportunities. Each one is unique, and that uniqueness can add real value, and don't forget about condition. If your 1976 penny is in mint state, meaning it has no signs of wear and still shines with its original luster, it's already ahead of the game. Coins graded MS-65 or higher by grading companies like PCGS or NGC are extremely desirable. The cleaner, shinier, and sharper the coin, the more likely collectors will want to get their hands on it, and pay good money for it. Here's another twist. While most 1976 pennies are made of copper-coated zinc, some transitional errors from surrounding years may include off-metal strikes, such as a penny struck on a dime planchet. These are ultra-rare and extremely valuable if authenticated. Now, let's talk numbers. What can these coins really be worth? A regular 1976 Lincoln penny in circulated condition is generally worth just 1 cent. But if you find a mint state example, especially one graded MS-65 or higher, it could be worth up to $25. Find one with a strong double die, and you're looking at over $100 depending on grade. But the real winners are those rare error coins. A dramatic off-center strike or a coin with a major die crack has sold at auction for as much as $300. So before you overlook that old 1976 penny, take a moment to really examine it. Check for errors, look at the condition, and maybe, just maybe, you'll find a hidden gem right in your pocket change. Top 3, we're exploring a coin that millions of Americans have handled without a second thought, the 1971 Lincoln penny. It's small, it's copper, and it's often overlooked, but if you know what to look for, this unassuming little coin could be worth far more than just 1 cent. Stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you might just be diving into your coin jar with excitement. Let's rewind to 1971. Richard Nixon was president, gas was just a few cents a gallon, and the U.S. Mint was busy producing over 2 billion Lincoln cents. That's right, more than 1.9 billion came from the Philadelphia Mint, with no mint mark, and over 525 million from the Denver Mint, with a D mint mark. With numbers like that, you'd think these coins are all common, right? Well, yes, and no. Most 1971 pennies you'll come across are indeed worth face value, especially if they've been circulated and show signs of wear. But the real magic lies in the details. It's the errors, variations, and pristine conditions that turn this common coin into a prized collector's item. Let's start with one of the most sought-after errors in the coin collecting world, the double die obverse. On some 1971 Lincoln pennies minted in Philadelphia, there's a striking doubling on the date, the word Liberty, and even, In God We Trust. This isn't minor. When visible, it's bold, clear, and highly collectible. Spotting one of these double die errors can be like hitting the coin jackpot. Then there's the off-center strike error, when the coin is misaligned during minting and part of the design is missing. The more off-center the strike, especially if Lincoln's face is still visible, the more valuable the coin becomes. These are easy to spot and can range from just slightly off to dramatically misstruck, which adds to their appeal. Another fascinating type is the broad strike error, which happens when a coin is struck outside the retaining collar, causing it to spread out and appear wider than normal. This gives the coin a sort of pancaked look, and if you've got a 1971 penny like this, you're holding something rare. And of course, we can't forget die cracks, cuds, and BI errors. A cud is a blob of metal caused by a break in the die, usually along the rim, and it's another favorite among collectors. BIE errors are small die breaks between the letters B and E in Liberty, making it look like it says Liberty. These quirky little flaws make each coin unique and more desirable, but even without errors, a 1971 penny can hold surprising value if it's in top condition. We're talking about coins graded MS 65 and above, which means they look almost brand new with full red luster and sharp details. These are much harder to find because most pennies from this era were heavily circulated. Now here's something many collectors overlook: proof coins. While no proof 1971 Lincoln pennies were minted in Philadelphia, the San Francisco Mint did produce beautiful proof versions of this coin, complete with the iconic S mint mark. These coins have a mirror-like finish and are struck multiple times for sharpness. They weren't meant for circulation, so if you find one in the wild, especially still sealed in its original packaging, you're holding something special. Now the moment you've been waiting for. What's it all worth? A standard 1971 penny in circulated condition. Still worth 1 cent. But if you've got a 1971 double die error in decent condition, it could be worth over $200. If it's in mint state, that price can climb to more than $600, depending on the grade. A perfectly preserved MS 67 red 1971 penny has sold for over $1,000 at auction. And those rare proof errors or high-grade proof coins with the S mint mark? They can go for up to $50 or more, especially if still in pristine condition. So next time you're digging through old coins, don't ignore that 1971 penny. It might be worn, it might be dusty, but if you look closely, you could uncover a tiny copper treasure hiding in plain sight. Top 4, we're turning our attention to a small but mighty coin, the 1979 Lincoln penny. Now, you've probably seen this little copper beauty hundreds of times without giving it much thought. But what if I told you that the 1979 1-cent coin you casually toss into a jar could actually be worth a lot more than just a cent? That's right. Some of these coins are hiding secrets, and if you're lucky enough to spot one of the rare varieties, you might just have a valuable piece of history in your hands. Let's start with the basics. The 1979 Lincoln penny was struck in huge numbers. Over 6 billion coins were minted between the Philadelphia and Denver mints. The Philadelphia pennies have no mint mark, while the Denver versions carry the small d beneath the date. At first glance, they seem like common coins, and for the most part, they are. But as with many things in the world of numismatics, the value lies in the details, and that's where things get interesting. Although the design stayed the same, with Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, some 1979 pennies came off the minting presses with errors and flaws that make them stand out. These are the coins collectors chase, the oddballs, the mistakes, the happy accidents that slip through the cracks and into circulation. One of the most well-known and desirable errors to look for is the double die obverse. On these rare examples, you'll see clear doubling in the inscriptions, especially in the words Liberty and In God We Trust, as well as on the date 1979. This kind of doubling is not just wear and tear, it's a minting mistake that happens when the coin die strikes the coin more than once in slightly different positions. It's a collector's dream, and examples in great condition can fetch big bucks. Another exciting error to watch out for is the off-center strike. This occurs when the coin isn't properly aligned in the press, causing part of the design to be missing or shifted. A dramatic off-center error, especially if Lincoln's portrait is still visible, is rare and very collectible. The further off-center it is, while still keeping key details visible, the more value it holds. There are also die cracks, cuds, and BAE errors that can appear on 1979 pennies. A cud is caused by a piece of the die breaking off, leaving a raised blob of metal on the finished coin. BIE errors are minor die breaks that appear between the letters B and E in Liberty, creating the illusion of an extra I. These types of errors may not be as dramatic as a double die, but they are still very collectible and add uniqueness to a coin. Let's not forget about condition. A standard 1979 penny that's been in circulation is typically worth only face value. But if you happen to find one that's in brilliant, uncirculated condition, with no scratches, strong luster, and full red color, it becomes significantly more appealing to collectors. Coins that are professionally graded MS-65 or higher can command impressive prices, even without any major errors, simply because of their quality. Now here's something many collectors overlook: proof coins. While the Philadelphia and Denver mints produced circulation coins, the San Francisco Mint struck a smaller number of proof coins in 1979, featuring the S mint mark. These were sold in special sets and are known for their mirror-like finish and sharp detail. A perfect proof penny from 1979, especially one graded PR 69 or PR 70, can bring in serious value. So, what's the real money behind these copper coins? A regular circulated 1979 Lincoln penny is worth just 1 cent. But find a mint state coin, and it could be worth $5 to $10 depending on condition. A double die error in high grade? That can jump to over $100. And a dramatic off-center strike could be worth more than $200. Now, if you're lucky enough to find a proof coin graded PR 70 deep cameo, you're looking at auction prices reaching up to $80 or more, depending on the market. So next time you come across a 1979 penny, don't ignore it. Look closely. Check the lettering, inspect the strike, and consider the condition. You never know, you might be holding a rare gem that thousands of collectors are still searching for. Top 5, and last rare penny, we're diving into one of the most talked about pennies in American coin history, the 1974 Lincoln penny. At first glance, it might seem like just another copper coin, but hidden among the billions of these pennies lies one of the most fascinating stories in modern numismatics. If you're a coin lover or just someone hoping to strike gold in your change jar, this video is going to keep you on the edge of your seat. So sit back, listen closely, and let's explore the mysteries, rarities, and potential value behind the 1974 1-cent coin. Let's rewind to 1974, a time when copper prices were skyrocketing. The U.S. Mint was facing increasing costs to produce pennies because the value of the copper in each coin was approaching, and in some cases, exceeding, 1 cent. As a response, the Mint began experimenting with different materials to create a cheaper alternative. That's when the idea of using aluminum came into play. Yes, you heard that right. Aluminum pennies. In 1974, the Mint struck over 1.5 million Lincoln pennies using aluminum instead of the traditional copper alloy. These lightweight coins were meant to replace the standard penny, but after heavy opposition from the vending machine industry, police officers, who worried the coins looked too much like dimes on X-rays, and Congress, the entire plan was scrapped. Most of the aluminum pennies were destroyed, but rumors have swirled for decades that a few escaped destruction and ended up in private hands. These ultra-rare 1974 aluminum Lincoln pennies are considered some of the most legendary coins in U.S. history, and if you were ever to come across one, you'd be holding a multi-million-dollar treasure. But we'll get to the value in just a bit. Now, let's focus on the standard 1974 Lincoln penny, the one you're more likely to find in circulation. The Mint produced billions of these coins, over 4 billion in Philadelphia, no mint mark, more than 4 billion in Denver, with a D mint mark, and a limited number of proof coins in San Francisco, marked with an S. With so many made, most 1974 pennies are extremely common. But once again, the value lies in the details, the rare errors, varieties, and perfect condition examples. One of the most desirable varieties is the 1974 D double die. On this version, you may notice clear doubling in the lettering, particularly in Liberty or In God We Trust. This error happened during the hubbing process, and it's one collectors are always watching for. While many double dies are minor, a strong and visible one from 1974 can be worth a nice chunk of change. Another error to look out for is the off-center strike, where the coin design is misaligned and appears partially missing. Coins with 10% to 50% off-center errors, especially those where Lincoln's profile remains visible, are rare and collectible. Die cracks, cuts, and BAE errors also appear on some 1974 Lincoln cents. A cut error creates a raised blob near the rim, while a BAE error shows a small vertical die break between the letters B and E in Liberty, creating what looks like an extra I. These small but quirky mistakes add character and value, especially when they're large or dramatically visible. Then, of course, there's condition. A circulated 1974 penny is usually only worth face value. But if you have a coin that has never seen a pocket, never been passed from hand to hand, and retains its full red shine, you may be holding something far more desirable. Collectors seek out coins graded MS 65 or higher, especially those with strong luster and no marks. The rarest among them, those graded MS 67 red, are incredibly tough to find and can command strong premiums. Proof coins from the San Francisco Mint also attract attention, especially if they're in flawless condition with a deep cameo contrast. These were never meant for circulation and are usually found in sealed proof sets. If you've got one that's been well preserved, it could definitely bring more than just a penny's worth of attention. Now let's get to the numbers. What are these coins really worth? A regular 1974 penny in worn condition is still worth just 1 cent. But a 1974 D double die in excellent condition can sell for up to $150. Off-center errors and dramatic die breaks can go for $50 to $200, depending on severity and eye appeal. A high-grade MS 67 red 1974 penny has sold at auction for over $400. And proof coins from San Francisco, especially in PR 69 deep cameo, can bring in $40 to $60, but let's not forget the legend, the 1974 aluminum penny. While it is technically illegal to own one, and any known specimens have been seized or returned to the mint, the last time one surfaced at auction, it was estimated to be worth over $2 million. That's right, $2 million. So, whether you're a seasoned collector or just curious about the coins in your pocket, the 1974 Lincoln penny is a coin full of history, mystery, and potential value. Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed this journey into numismatic gold, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. You never know which coin could be your lucky find. Keep hunting, and happy collecting.